Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Shabbos, Perek Yud, Chapter 10, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. And I'd like to dedicate this morning's learning in memory of my mother, Mrs. Shalamas Rabinowitz, Shalamas Bas Rabbi Yaakov Eliezer. Our learning should be a schus for her neshama. Hamaitzi bein biyaminai bein b'smailai. If you transfer something, you take something out from your house into public domain, or vice versa, whether you do it with your right hand or your left, in the garment next to your chest, or on your shoulder, chayiv. You are liable for that, meaning you'd be liable for a sin offering if you did it unintentionally. This is considered the Torah form of transgressing. Shekein ma'aseh b'nei kahas, because this is the way the children of Kahas carried their parts of the Mishkan when they were traveling, and the Mishkan was taken apart, and the Levites had different parts that they carried. So how did Bnei Kas carry there? The Bnei Kas carried their articles on their shoulder. There are poles in the different utensils of the Beis Hamikdash, and they had it on their shoulder. So that shows you that carrying something by your shoulder is considered the regular way of carrying. Now, I should have really started off with a bit of an introduction here. And the introduction here is that anytime any act that's considered a Torah transgression of one of the 39 forms of prohibited activity of Shabbos, you have to do it in what's called the normal manner. You have to do it in a normal way, in what's considered the way most people do it. So if we're talking about now transferring, we're talking about carrying. It means you got to carry in a normal way to be considered that you have, according to Torah law, transgressed the prohibition of carrying outdoors, carrying into a public domain or vice versa, to be considered that a transgression of Shabbos. You got to do it in a normal way. So the Mishnah is going to now list to us what's considered normal and what's not considered normal. So the first thing it tells us is that, right, left, you can go ahead. That's considered normal. And I didn't see this here in the notes, but I'm going to assume that means even if you're a righty and you carry something out with your left hand, it's still considered normal, because even righties carry things in their left hands and vice versa.
Because sometimes if you get tired with one,
exactly. Okay. B'sei chekai, which means against your chest. Now, what that means here is that it doesn't mean that, you took your shirt, right? You have your shirt in your chest and you stuck it in. That's not what it means. It means the garment was made in such a way that it could hold things between it and the person's chest. It's like they had a garment where they had like a little pocket there, a little something there that you could stick it in there. And now it was between the garment and the chest, but it was made that way. It was made with a way to hold it. It was made in such a way that it could hold those things. Therefore, it's still considered normal. And although carrying is on your shoulder, the way the Bartender explains is not the most common way of doing things, but nonetheless, if that's the way the children of Kahas carry the articles of the Mishkan, then that shows you that this is considered a normal way of carrying, even though it's not the most common way of carrying. All right, next. So that's the first part of the Mishnah. If you transfer, we're going to use the word carry now, meaning if you're taking something out from your private domain to a public domain, if you do it in these manners, this is considered, you did it in a normal manner, you're going to be considered, according to Torah law, transgressing the Melacha Beitzah and Shabbos. Kalach hayadai. Kalach hayadai literally means with the back of your hand. But that doesn't mean like, the back of your hand kind of, magic kind of thing. Back of your hand means the unusual way of doing something, right? Imagine you're walking out something with something on your hand like this, right? That is not the usual way. That would be considered unusual. So kalach hayadai is the term that is used for when we want to say, but what if you did it in an unusual manner? So kalach hayadai, in an unusual manner, such as baraglai, with your foot, bifiv, in your mouth, if it's not food. Uvamarpakai, it means in this part, in what we call the crest of your elbow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ba'aznai, in your ear. Yeah, you stuck the thing in your ear. Uvis arai, or you kind of tangle it into your hair. Ubafundasai, upialamala. Fundasai means a money belt with its opening facing down. Now, if you have a money belt and you have coins in the money belt and it's facing down, what's going to happen?
They're going to fall off.
Right. So that doesn't make sense for a person to be doing that. The answer is he did it that way, but he closed up the opening, right? So he's wearing it upside down, but he closed it up in a way that the money shouldn't fall out, but should not. Okay. However, this is not the normal way to wear the money belt with the money in it. It's just not. That's not the usual way you do it. So therefore, if you're wearing this hollow money belt with the money in it, and you've got the opening facing downwards, that's considered an unusual way of wearing it and carrying, and therefore, this also falls under an unusual manner. If you were to be wearing the money belt with the opening up, that wouldn't be unusual. That's the way they wear it. If it's upwards, the opening is upwards, the money doesn't fall out. Okay. Or let's say you stuck something between your money belt and your garment, like, or in our, let's say you stuck something between your belt and your pants, right? You've got something wrapped around you and you stick it in between that thing and your garment. Or in the hem of the bottom of your cloak. Somebody know, the hem is open a little bit and you stick something into the hem. In a shoe, in a sandal, you stick, maybe you're putting your money in your shoe or something or other like that. Not money on Shabbos, but something else in your shoe on Shabbos. Pater, in all these cases, you are exempt. This is not considered that you transgress the Torah act of transferring. Were you to do it unintentionally, you would not have to bring a carbon chat sin offering. Because it did not transfer in the normal manner in the normal manner of people who do transferring. So that's what, therefore, since you did it in an unusual manner, therefore you have not transgressed the Torah prohibition. This is a very important rule to bear in mind because it comes up a lot, but it's also equally important to know that midrabanan, according to rabbinic law, you can't do that. So according to Torah law, if you wanted to, if you wanted to go ahead and stick something, I used to see this years ago. People, right? They'd have their watch on, right? And they stuck a tissue in between the watch and the wrist.
Between the watch
and the wrist. Yeah. Right. I used to see people on Shabbos going that way. It's like, I'm wearing it.
Wearing the tissue.
So to speak. But the point is, but number one, you don't wear tissues. That's number one. And number two, although it is not the usual way of carrying things, nonetheless, according to rabbinic law, midrabanan, it's forbidden to do. Have a wonderful day.
Is this what they refer to as a shoe?
Thank you.
Correct.